Lily has always been the wife he respected and loved, but recently she began acting strangely in ways he couldn't explain. Every time he asked her about work, she avoided the topic. Then one day her advice to their nephew about not joining her company raised a red flag. Why didn't Lily want Mason to join her company? What's really behind this? Before continuing the story, tell me which city you are watching from. I want to know how far this video has come. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I can send you exciting stories like this every day. I, male 31, have been married for 3 years to Lily, female 30. She's in the advertising industry, and I work as an executive in the MNC. I met Lily on a dating app, and after a couple of years of an on and off relationship, we finally decided to get married. We both love and respect each other, but I think we are more of a mature couple who respects each other's boundaries and does not go around mushy-mushy. Lily is a creative developer for advertising, so she has odd and unorganized working hours. I was accommodating until now, like for the last 3 years, but now I sense something is just fishy. I tried to have an open-hearted conversation with Lily, but she brushed me off, saying I was just overthinking. Okay, so what happened was last year my nephew Mason, male 25, graduated from a cinematography course and wanted a job. Since Lily was in the advertising industry, he requested a referral. Her agency was not hiring cinematographers then, so she tried to refer him to other agencies where her friends and acquaintances worked. However, after a few months, the hiring manager of Lily's agency spotted Mason's work and offered him better pay. When Lily got to know that Mason got an offer at her agency, she advised against joining it, stating that he shouldn't switch within months and that her agency was not that great. It was a toxic work culture and so on. Surprisingly, Lily had never complained about her workplace being toxic before that discussion. She had been associated with that agency for years now. Her advice raised suspicion in Mason's mind that Lily didn't want him to work for her agency. Although he didn't say anything, it was evident from his straight face that he didn't buy her logic. After Mason left, I asked Lily why she was reluctant to let Mason join her agency. She said that her agency is not good for camera persons or cinematographers because the advertising director is a toxic boss. I questioned her if it was toxic, how she had been working there for so many years, and she had never complained about toxicity before. She said that her line of reports is different. She reports to a creative head who is not toxic, but her friends have informed her that the advertising director is a cruel man. The next day I called Mason and tried to give him the same reason as Lily gave it to me last night. He said he had not decided and was still analyzing the offer. He mentioned checking up on the information online from previous employers, etc. I left the conversation there and I kind of moved on. I didn't check with Mason again on this matter, and weeks passed. Probably a couple of months later, Lily came back home with an angry face. I asked her why, but she ignored me and went for a shower. I thought maybe she was stressed because of some work-related stuff, so I didn't think too much about it. After the shower, she went straight to bed without having dinner. I cuddled her, asking for the reason for her messy mood, convincing her to have dinner, but she refused, saying she was tired and just wanted to sleep. I backed out, giving her the space because after a hectic work shift, sometimes sleep is more important than food or husband. The next morning, she was normal. She didn't say anything, and I too ignored it to not make her angry. She came late that evening. I thought it was her usual shift extension or so, but she came. Oh my God, she was fuming. She didn't wait for me to ask her the reason. She unleashed her temper on me. Apparently, she was angry because Mason ignored her advice and joined her agency. She went on to say that no one in my family loves her or respects her opinion. I was dumbfounded at her reaction. I mean, it wasn't a big deal if Mason didn't take her advice, right? He is an adult and has all the rights to choose his employers. Well, Lily has always been a strong-headed woman, and I adore her for her strong personality. It was because of her personality she was able to thrive in a career that was dominated by male counterparts. But sometimes Lily does get egotistic. In her early dating phase, I had difficulty dealing with her because she would often put her foot down and won't budge from her decision. But over time, I realized that she was smart and intuitive. Her decisions and predictions have proved to be accurate, more often than not. So I guess now I'm conditioned to go by her instincts, even if, sometimes, she wasn't able to back her point with logic. So when Lily unloaded her anger on me, I didn't flame up. It would have triggered her more. When she was done, I calmed her down. I assured her I believed in her judgment with my full self. But we cannot force this on our families, right? I told her that she tried her best to stop Mason from jumping into the firewell. But if he still chose that for himself, let it be. Let him taste that and repent. To satisfy her ego, I told her she would have the last laugh. Of course, I don't want my nephew to suffer, but one to bear the consequences of one's decision. Besides, it wasn't bonded labor. He could get out of it whenever he wanted. Lily remained quiet while I pacified her. I wasn't able to make it out if she was convinced, so I decided to let it pass. It has been more than 3 months since then, but Lily has been behaving weirdly. She has been giving me cold shoulders every now and then. On some days, she behaves normally, and on some days, she is no more than a stranger to me. I tried to have confrontations with her many times, but she brushed off her behavior under the rugs of hectic work and so on. She further insists I not think too hard about it, as I'm just overthinking about her. She is her normal self. I asked her if she was still upset with Mason's incident, but she said he didn't exist for her. I know her remarks are rude, but I also know that it's temporary. She would be fine after a while. I did not speak to Mason after he joined the agency, but I guess he is fine since he hasn't quit yet. I'm more concerned about Lily's behavior toward me. Sometimes I feel that her coldness is related to Mason ignoring her advice, that she doesn't feel valued, and sometimes I feel it is something else. I don't know how to get out of this. I initially think she is hiding something at work, and doesn't want Mason to find out, and subsequently didn't want you finding out OP. Update 1, hi. As discussed with some of you over the comments in my posts, I let that phase pass on its own. I focused on my work, joined a gym, and took up a goal of losing 10 pounds, but I guess Mason had something stored for me. Last week was Mason's birthday. Honestly, I don't remember anyone's birthday except for Lily's and our anniversary. I wouldn't have realized it until I saw it on social media, so I called Bona Mason to wish him. He sounded cheerful, but when I asked him about his work, he got quiet and said he wanted to meet me. He said that he had taken off that day and wanted to have lunch with me. It took me by surprise because a 25-year-old definitely doesn't want to have lunch on their birthday with their uncle, unless it's a serious business. I asked him if everything was okay at work, because somewhere I trusted Lily and thought Mason's boss was actually toxic. I thought Mason had realized that he shouldn't have ignored Lily, so I agreed to meet up. I had to fake being sick to take a sudden off, but I was curious to know what Mason had for me. During lunch, he was uncomfortable for most of the time. I asked him if anything was bothering him, but he said no. I even asked about his boss and work pressure, but he said that work was going great. His strange behavior made me uncomfortable, so I bluntly asked him if he wanted to share anything with me. He was caught off guard and admitted to having something on his mind. He told me that he has seen Lily be unusually close to her boss, creative head. They always have lunch and coffee breaks together. She often left with him early from the office, which was a matter of office gossip. He said that Lily, being his aunt, troubles him when people speak such filthy words against her. Since everyone in the office knows about Mason being my nephew, they don't gossip about Lily in front of him. But you know, these things spread quite fast. I asked him if he was unsure about it. He clenched his palms and apologized to me at least 100 times and said he was sorry to tell me all this. He initially hesitated to get into details, afraid of hurting me. He revealed the details only when I insisted. He added that it could be a mere rumor because they too have to accompany their boss during client meetings. So it could be possible that Lily was leaving the office for client meetings. I was heavy-headed and unable to process the information. My problem was that Mason wasn't sure about it. It could be more speculation, baseless gossip. Besides, I had no evidence to confront Lily, making my situation more suffocating. I went back home feeling disoriented. I was by myself for the entire evening. Also, at the dinner table, I buried my head on the plate and nibbled my food. Lily asked me a few times if I was okay, but I just nodded. I was unable to sleep, yet I tucked inside the blanket frigid. I don't know what I was thinking when I suddenly asked Lily, "What was the exact reason why you didn't want Mason to join your agency?" She was taken aback. She asked me, "Why did I bring this topic up again?" I told her with a straight face that I met Mason today, and he was happy with his work, as well as his boss. Lily rolled her eyes and kept down her phone. She took a long breath and said, "Look, you know my intention was not wrong. I'm not sure how he has got along with his boss. Maybe because they both are of the same ideology." I asked her, what did she mean by the same ideology? She hesitantly told me that she found Mason to be a conservative mindset who raises an eyebrow when the length of a woman's skirt is short or if the neckline is a few inches down. For Mason's boss, it is almost safe to say that he is a chauvinist who looks down upon women in the team. She said Mason is nosy and likes to dictate the women at his house, so she wasn't comfortable with him working for her agency. I asked her why she didn't tell this to me. She said it would hurt me, and it wasn't necessary to indulge in that details. I didn't say a word after that. As a retrospect, I realized she was right to an extent. I have often heard Mason telling my sister she is no longer that young to wear such fashionable clothes or bright lip color. He was also against his sister's decision to move out of the house to live by herself. He once thrashed a boy, black and blue, when he found him talking to his sister cozily in the school cafeteria. So I'm a little dicey to make any judgment here. Although I trust Lily, I don't want to end up being blindsided and fooled. Whatever it be on me, I'm unable to completely dismiss Mason's instinct this time. Would appreciate any solid advice. Thanks much. Remain suspicious. I'm not sure your nephew has anything to lose by lying to you or over-dramatizing the truth. Ask him if he can keep an eye on her at work. Then you can get some solid evidence. Update 2. Thanks for some really good advice. So as per this community, I asked Mason to fetch me some proof regarding this claim. He said he didn't want to be involved in this saga only to be labeled as a marriage breaker by the family members. I assured him that I won't accuse him even if his suspicions turned out to be false positive. And what if what he says turns out to be true? What better could he do for me than to expose a cheating relationship? He finally agreed to give it a shot. He said he would try to get some evidence but couldn't promise one. A few days later, Lily came from work and started throwing tantrums at me. She accused me of using Mason to spy on her. She said that Mason has made her life terrible at work and she would not tolerate it. She threatened Mason with his job if he continued to spy on her. I urged her to tell me the exact reason for their reaction. She counterattacked me, saying I shouldn't act naive when I was the one plotting all these, taking Mason's help. I felt terrible about lying to her, but assured her I wasn't involved in any of these. She said that Mason had been keeping an eye on her whatever she does or wherever she goes, whether it is the cafeteria or terrace for smoke break. At that moment, I cracked inside of Mason's foolishness. I mean, what was he thinking when he followed her everywhere? Even if she was updated, she wouldn't do anything in public space, right? At that moment, I was hoping Mason's suspicions to come out to be false positive. I pacified Lily and promised her that I would talk to Mason and knock some sense into him. I actually thought of meeting Mason that weekend and asking him to focus on his career instead of the agenda of exposing Lily. The next day, I got a call from Mr. Thompson, Lily's father. I was taken aback when he said I should pull Mason's strings as he was harassing Lily at her workplace. I was speechless for a moment, thinking, how come he knew about this situation? I hesitantly asked him if Lily had told him anything about this. He said he was near Lily's office that afternoon, so they decided to have lunch together. During lunch, Lily opened her heart to how Mason was spying on her. I don't know if it is just me or if Lily was actually blowing up the situation out of proportion. I assured him that I would take care of it. When Lily returned home, I told her about her father's phone call. She said yes, she had discussed her problem with her father as usual. I told her it was our internal matter and we could have solved it. Also, I had promised her last night that I would straighten the issue out with Mason. Nevertheless, she turned defensive, stating that it was her father and she has all the right to discuss her problems with him. A little backstory about Lily's father, Mr. Thompson. He's a little extra over-the-top father who is way too protective of his daughter, the kind of one who pulls out a gun if anyone stares at his daughter. He leaves no opportunity to boast about how proud he is to be the father of an independent girl. I mean, I know being the father of a girl naturally makes you protective and proud. But trust me, guys, he is too ahead of the edge. So anyways, I called up Mason that very moment and asked him for a meeting in the mall. I went to meet Mason to ask him to stop his investigation. He had something else stored for me. I started by thanking him for being so protective of me And as I went on to ask him to curb down, he stopped me and said he wanted to show me something. He pulled out his laptop and showed me a clip that sent shivers down my spine. It was a long video. Mason fast-forwarded it to a point that I was looking for. Lily was seen with her boss in an elevator. He was caressing her hands while taking some files. Then he was seen fondling her. Other parts. I can't even type this. There were not only one, but several clips where her boss's hand was all around her body in the elevator, in the deserted fire exit gateways, in the staircase. I didn't have the courage to watch all the clips with my eyes wide open. I told Mason to transfer all those files to me. I also asked him how he was able to get CCTV footage of the workspace. It was not accessible by an employee. He said that he could not name it, but he had friends in the engineering department who were able to hack into the CCTV cameras of the deserted places of the office. When I returned home, Lily immediately asked me if I knocked some sense into my stupid nephew. I replied, yes, I have told Mason not to interfere in your business when you are getting knocked down by your boss. My voice automatically pitched high as I said that. She was flustered. She tried to blame the victim, saying that Mason was filled with hatred for her. I yelled back at her, cutting off her drama, and said that I have live proof that her boss was playing with her body. She did not back off until I showed her the clips. She was frozen for a moment before returning to her narcissistic self, threatening Mason for intruding employees' personal space and threatening the security department of their job for leaking CCTV footage. I couldn't place my finger on her reasoning. She said it was forged and asked me to verify the evidence before tarnishing her reputation. I told her bluntly that I had all the evidence of her going to the hotel rooms with her boss. I said I had hired a PI and he gave me all the information. I was playing a bluff because Mason had given me the details of the hotel where Lily and her boss frequently lodged for their dirty business. Although I didn't have any other information besides the hotel's name, I just played bluff and told her I knew all the details that she and her boss were lodging in the XYZ hotel. She bought my bluff and was lost for words. She sat down and said that I needed to hear her out before making any conclusion. I said I was all ears to listen to her. She said, well, you know, I'm in the advertising industry. It's part of the business, right? I need to keep my boss happy. There's nothing personal between us. It's just for work, you know? I felt my guts spill out from my mouth. How conveniently did she say it was for nothing personal and it was all for work? Really? I know I'm going to piss off many of you by saying this. If that's the case, her profession is no less than someone who sells their body for money. I can't believe that she was putting up this whole woman empowerment thing, that she was thriving in a man's world with her head held high. No, not with her head held high, but with her knee bent down. I told her I wouldn't buy her logic, which was pure cheating. I made it clear that cheating was the end for me and I would be filing for divorce. Saying that, I locked myself in the room, packed up some stuff, and left the house. While I was leaving, I told her that she could vacate my soon as possible, and next we would meet in court. She didn't say anything. I lodged into a hotel for the night and took the next day's flight to Florida. I'll be honest, I wanted to run away from my miserable life. I called up my lawyer friend that very night and explained the situation. He took all the details from me and said he would send the divorce papers in a week to her residential address, her parents' house. Now, I want to get done with the divorce as soon as possible. I also know that it is not going to be easy. I don't know how I'll survive, if at all I will. Yikes, I can't believe that she actually said, I need to keep my boss happy. How dare she try to blame Mason for making her life miserable at work? She did that herself. People aren't dumb. They see things. It's clearly cheating. It has nothing to do with business. Additionally, it sucks that Mason had to be the middle person and risk his job for you. Sounds like you have a great nephew, but a terrible wife. I'm sorry, OP. Update 3. Thanks for all the support, people. So I was still in Florida when my lawyer sent the divorce paper to Lily at her parents' house. A few hours after I got the confirmation from the lawyer that the paper had been shipped, I got a call from Lily's father. He immediately started yelling at me, accusing me and my nephew of being chauvinist and egotistic. He said I was divorcing Lily because Mason and I could not stand her successful career. I was perplexed by his allegations. After he was done accusing me, I asked him if he really knew the exact reason, but it was definitely not what he thought. I told him that I didn't know what Lily had BS'd him, but I had all the proof for my claims, which I shared with him at the very instant while we were on the call. I asked him to check his phone. He was just silent. The first part of the silence was when he was checking the videos I sent, and the next part was silence due to embarrassment. I told him I was sorry that he had to see such clips of his daughter, but I had no choice but to share them. I'm no saint. I can't just keep mum and take all the blame on myself when I'm the last one to be blamed for her. I am the dang victim. That was it from his end. I came back after a month or so. Lily had left the house by then. However, she was contesting the divorce, asking for alimony and share in the house. My lawyer instead pressed her with alimony to compensate for the mental trauma I had to undergo because of her. He also assured me that our marriage was short-lived, and she had no contribution during the purchase of the house, and so she could not claim any share in the house. The case is still on, but I guess I have moved on a little further from where I was a couple of months ago when this all came out. I'm not seeing anyone. Neither do I plan to see anyone anytime soon. I'm just focusing on getting rid of my drinking, which I picked up during my depression phase in Florida. After deciding to divorce and leave our shared home, I had to face a pain I never imagined before. The emptiness, loneliness, and uncertainty overwhelmed me every single day. I began to notice more and more how I was changing. The memories of the time I spent with my wife, who I once loved, suddenly resurfaced. Those nights we sat together, the plans for the future we once had. Now those memories felt like a nightmare. But what confused me the most wasn't just the memories, but the feeling of not being able to accept the betrayal. Every time I looked back, I realized I had ignored so many signs. I had trusted my wife blindly, believing she could never hurt me. Yet, I understood that I couldn't live in the past, trapped in this pain. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that change is inevitable, and I had to rediscover myself. I started engaging in activities I had long neglected, things I abandoned while spending too much time on work and family. I began attending yoga classes, taking walks in the park on evenings, and slowly I felt like I was regaining balance in my life. One thing I learned during this time was the importance of putting myself first. I couldn't live for others anymore. I had to live for myself. Every day that passed, I felt more and more the difference in myself. I was no longer torn between seeking forgiveness or having painful conversations with my ex-wife. I had learned to let go and accept that life would never return to what it once was. I gradually understood that divorce wasn't a failure. It was a new beginning, an opportunity to find peace within myself. One day as I sat by the window gazing outside, I thought about life and everything I had been through. I wondered whether I was ready to love again. Could I open my heart to someone new, someone who might bring me the joy and trust I once found? Or would I continue to live alone, enjoying the independence I now had, free from the pain of betrayal? Life isn't easy, and sometimes choosing to move forward alone is the best decision. Over these past days, I have learned so much, not just about myself, but also about the world around me. I've realized that even when we face tremendous shocks in life, we can rise above them, move forward, and continue to grow. Letting go of things that no longer belong to us has brought me a sense of relief. The first steps away from the darkness of betrayal have been liberating, and I feel more confident than ever about the future ahead. As for my ex-wife, I no longer feel the anger I once did. Honestly, I no longer care about what she thinks or what she will do in the future. I've drawn a clear boundary in my life, and I know no one can cross it now. Though she was once the most important person in my life, I now realize I can't continue living in the past. What matters now is my future, and I've learned to love myself and create a new life for myself. Every day, I feel stronger. The difficult decisions have taught me that, in any situation, we have the right to choose. And I've chosen to live for myself, to live a life free of burdens and betrayal. I don't know what the future holds, but one thing I know for sure is that I will always trust myself. Strength doesn't come from holding on to what we've lost. It comes from learning to let go and keep moving forward. And then, as I felt more stable, I thought about everything that made me grow. In the end, I realized that life isn't always fair, and bad things will come during certain stages of life. But what's important is that we know how to stand up and keep going, learn from our mistakes, and most importantly, always love ourselves. When I look back, I'm grateful for the challenges life brought me, for they helped shape me into a stronger person today. I can't change the past, but I can create a new future, a future that I fully control. And from here on, I will continue that journey, learning, growing, and loving life more than ever. One day I decided to take a trip. It wasn't a long journey, just a short vacation in a coastal city. I needed a new space to free myself from the swirling thoughts in my head. To my surprise, after just a few days, I felt as if I were reborn. The long days by the beach, watching the waves and listening to the wind, gave me a sense of peace I had never known before. It was at that moment I began to realize that I needed to live for myself. Those days were not just about finding myself again, but also about reflecting on what I had been through. I no longer felt angry or resentful. Instead, I felt lighter, as if I had shed a heavy burden. I realized that in life, sometimes we have to accept the truth that not everything goes the way we want it to, and not everyone will walk with us until the end. But what truly matters is that we must know how to let go and move forward. Then when I returned from my trip, something unexpected happened. I ran into an old friend, someone I hadn't seen in a long time. We caught up, sharing what had happened in our lives over the past years. That friend asked me a question that made me think deeply. Are you ready for a new opportunity? I couldn't answer immediately. A part of me wanted to close everything off, not wanting to continue with anything anymore. But another part of me urged me to keep going. I didn't know where I was heading from here, but I knew I couldn't live forever in the past. I began thinking about love, about future relationships. Could I love someone again? Could I trust someone without the fear of being betrayed? These questions kept swirling in my mind, but I also understood that there were no easy answers. And perhaps right now I didn't need to find an answer immediately. I just needed to live in the present, enjoy what was happening, and let things unfold naturally. My life now wasn't the life of a husband, but the life of a man finding himself again. I didn't know what the future held, but I believed I would be stronger, willing to face the challenges ahead and never return to things that weren't worthy. Maybe I would love again, maybe not. But no matter what, I would always remember that the most important thing is to love myself before loving anyone else. Sometimes in life, we need to face painful truths to find the right path. And it is in those difficult moments that we discover the strength within ourselves. No one can decide our future but us. And I, although not yet sure where I would go, at least found myself again. And that was the most important thing. So I don't know what life ahead will bring, but I believe that with every step I take, I will never be alone. Every day I feel closer to myself, and that's the most wonderful feeling I can have. This story of betrayal, pain, and the inevitable end of a seemingly happy marriage has left us all with a whirlwind of emotions that are difficult to put into words. It's a reminder that life doesn't always go as we plan, and sometimes the people we trust the most can be the ones who hurt us the deepest. At first, we might think that love alone is enough to keep a relationship intact. But as this story shows, love is just one part of the equation. What truly holds a relationship together is respect, trust, and honesty, values that are often tested in the most unexpected ways. The husband in this story experienced a painful betrayal that shattered everything he thought he knew about his marriage. The heartbreak of losing a wife he once cherished was more than he could have ever imagined. Yet, through it all, he found a surprising strength within himself. He had the courage to let go, to move on, and ultimately rediscover who he was outside of the pain and the betrayal. This story is not just a lesson about love, but a powerful reminder that no matter how hard life gets, we must always prioritize loving and caring for ourselves first. Sometimes the hardest decisions, the ones that tear us apart, are the very things that help us grow. They shape us, make us stronger, and more resilient than we ever thought we could be. The emotional journey we experience when facing such life-altering situations can be overwhelming, but it's in these moments that we learn the most about ourselves and what truly matters. If you've ever found yourself in a similar situation, facing betrayal or heartbreak, or if you've struggled with difficult decisions in life, you are not alone. We want to hear your thoughts, your stories, and your reflections. Sharing these experiences can help us all find strength in one another. If this story has resonated with you, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of the powerful, inspiring, and heartfelt stories we'll be sharing. We hope that these stories will continue to encourage and uplift you, and we invite you to be a part of our community. Don't forget to like and share this video with your friends so we can all reflect, learn, and grow together. Each subscription not only supports our channel, but also motivates us to keep bringing more meaningful content to you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We hope to see you in our next video, where we'll continue to explore more stories that speak to the heart. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and remember, you are never alone.